She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and welcome to the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. I am so excited for my guest today. I can't contain myself. That's why my voice is squeaky. Okay, let's get to the ads really quick. Our first sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer. They can help you with your social media. They can help you analyze the demographics of your business, and they are experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, for all of your entertainment needs, and hellenicfestivals.org to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. And I promise there will be a Greek festivals in 2021, because we all need to have a souvlaki. Also, our other sponsor is Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? You put it in your shoe. Why? Because you have to, because you need it for your back and your knees and your alignment. My guest is shaking his head. And for your entire body. And the beauty of these is that there is an adjustability in the arch, where you can adjust the arch firm, extra firm, depending on what your needs are. I do not work out without these. They are fantastic. Go to their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com. There is a 30-second video that'll show you exactly how it works. It's with the turn of a dial. It's a geometric beam. It's really fancy. I don't know how they engineered it, but they did. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount if you type in the code family25, FAMILY 25, because I feel like you are like my family, except I like you guys a little bit better. So just put that code in and check them out. We thank them, selectflex.com. Okay, our guest is incredibly busy. He has been all over television, and I am so grateful that he came on. Honestly, he came on because I've only handed him about 1,000 times. He's probably like, all right, I gotta just do this. And we're probably going to get interrupted by furniture delivery, because hey, why not? I've only tried to get him on my show for a year and a half, and you know, this is the day and the hour that I'm going to get a furniture delivery. And by the way, we never buy furniture. Okay, so. I can go on with a 5-minute introduction. I won't, because he's got so much information that I want him to share with us. But he is one of the best world-renowned chiropractor, nutritionist, health, wellness. In his book, I found out that he is a raw foods chef. Lots of accolades, one of the nicest people on the planet. He has been on Kelly Ripa's show. He has been on The Doctors. He was on this morning, all over television. He's fantastic. Please welcome my guest, Dr. Daryl Gioffre.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an introduction. That was awesome.
The biggest thing is author of 2 books that are, and then we rehearsed this, by the way. I'm such a mess, aren't you? This is just like being on live with Kelly and Ryan. Get Off Your Acid is his first book. I forgot to say author, because, and you know, we're not going to edit this because we want to show just how inept I am. And wait, I'm going to put it against my body. Get off.
There you go.
Your sugar.
There you go.
And get off your acid. And probably for me, get off of show business. Okay, so thank you for coming. He also has these great products. We'll get into that in a second. You are a chiropractor, is what most people know you as, but wellness, health, you're all about food is huge. What you put in to your body is medicine. Let's face it. Let's put COVID, aside, okay? Before all this, I mean, as a world, but we'll just focus on America. We have been going down a spiral downward in terms of our health and wellness. And it's interesting because you would think that the more information we have, the better that we would get, but it's a lot deeper than that. And me personal, this is incredibly personal for me, and I won't get into all of my stories, but I have seen family members not with us anymore, and from heart disease diabetes, things that really had progressed badly. The food, the way that they took care of themselves was not good. And it's very, very upsetting because and these aren't people that live till 100 and they live that sort of full life. I feel that it got cut short, and to watch them disintegrate in the process, and people just, it's a hard thing because food is very emotional. I'm Greek, not that you have to be Greek, but certainly in a lot of ethnicities, food is love, food is entertainment. It's so much of what we do. And there's just so much out there. And you wrote these really great books. One is about Get Off Your Acid, which essentially, when I try to describe it to people, it talks about how inflammation is sort of like the root of all evil in your body and causes diseases. And then your other book that just came out recently, which is my new Bible, is Get Off of Your Sugar, because the first thing I said to you when I went to your office is, I love cakes, cookies, and pies, and I can't get off of them, and this has been going on for years. And anybody that follows me on social media knows that that is a big downfall, and I've struggled with that for years. And I say struggle. So I don't know where, I don't even know where to start, but why don't I just want to just start for a minute with just a little bit of your story, because it's interesting and it helps people know that it's not like you were always this health freak, and it's because that's easy for people. If you don't like chocolate, and then to sit there and say, I don't eat chocolate, what's the big deal? So
right.
That was not your journey.
No, it definitely wasn't my journey. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. This is so exciting. You're one of my most favorite people in the world and one of the funniest people that I know. And I was laughing before we get started. I mean, you and I speak the same language. We speak as fast as each other. So we're going to get 2 podcasts in one in this one. So get ready, everybody. This is going to be exciting. But no, it's just such a pleasure and honor to be with you today. But yeah, you said a few powerful things in that intro right there, which is so true. Number one, there is a lot of information out there, but the question is what are we doing with that information? You have to understand is that knowledge is not power, it's potential power. Action is power. And that's the thing with sugar addiction. I was not this healthy person for most of my life. Most of us struggle with sugar. Most of us struggle with crappy carbohydrates. When I say crap, C-R-A-P, completely refined and processed. We're addicted to sugar. And how's one example of how you know that? Try to go more than 2 or 3 hours without eating and see how you do. So that was me. I was the guy that was eating 17 times a day, but trust me, it wasn't avocados. It wasn't healthy foods. It was acidic foods that drive up inflammation in the body. I mean, Ellen, I can remember ever since going back as like a 5-year-old, growing up, I told the story in the book, the new book, how every time I would eat Cheerios, one of my favorite breakfast cereals as a kid, for every spoonful of Cheerios, there would be a spoonful of white sugar, 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, that was like one tiny example, but magnify that by 1,000. And that was my life. But as a kid, you could get away with these things. That's not normal, but most kids are more addicted to sugar than us as adults. So I think one of the most important things I've learned is role modeling is critical. We can't say to our kids, don't eat this, don't eat that, if we're going and eating those same foods. So it starts with us, and kind of it's been an incredible journey. Growing into high school, I had horrific acne as a kid. I played soccer at Boston College. I played for the under-20 national team, highly competitive, but still I was addicted to sugar. I look back at my life now and I thought about, if I wasn't eating all the sugar that I did, how would my life have been different? Would I have not suffered from all the injuries that I did? But then also, those specific injuries actually brought me to chiropractic. So looking back, I have no regrets. I am where I am today because of all the ups and downs and the struggles that I went through with my own sugar addiction. And even as a chiropractor, I've been in practice now 22 years or something like that. It's hard to believe. But in my early 20s, when I was a chiropractor, I was what I call the shoemaker with no shoes. I was the guy, I go out there, I'd adjust a client, I tell them, don't eat your sugar. And then I go back in the office, I was eating a Nestle's Crunch Bar, drinking 3 Coca-Colas. And it was just a huge problem. I tried by deprivation to quit this addiction, but it's just not enough. Some people, Ellen, can get there by doing that. In other words, stopping cold turkey. It's a noble thing, but the problem is that you're not addressing the underlying deficiencies of why you crave sugar in the first place. So the people that do that, again, it's a noble effort. many of them end up falling off the wagon worse than when they started because, again, you're not addressing the reasons why. So I just became a health investigator. I was 42 pounds heavier than I am today. I had no energy. You know, I'd adjust 50 people. At the end of the day, I was just spent. And over the years, it started catching up with me. And then the straw that broke the camel's back, I was leaning over to adjust one of my clients, and literally my pants split right down the backside. And I'm going to tell you, it was a painful moment. It was the eye opener. It made me finally just come to terms with the addiction. And then I stepped up. I drew a line in the sand. You know, I burned the boats. If you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. I burned the boats, and I wasn't going to go back. But I changed my approach, and this is the most important thing. Instead of removing the poison, which again is not addressing the underlying cause, I started adding the antidote. I started with a green juice. Literally a green juice. If you want to start with one thing, it is at the core of a strength eating diet. I added a second green juice. And then I started doing some other things like just bouncing on a rebounder for 10 minutes a day. Things that didn't take a lot of time. They didn't take a lot of effort. They were easy to implement, but I noticed incredible changes. In 21 days, my lifelong addiction to sugar and the cravings I was suffering with was completely gone. And then fast forward about 3.5 months, I actually dropped about 42 pounds, not because my intention was to lose weight. It was the byproduct of putting these healthy, alkalizing, strengthening foods into my body. And here we are now, I'm 45. My energy's better now than it is when I was in my early 20s. And we're going strong. We're not stopping.
Okay, first of all, you look like you're 22.
Oh, you're so kind.
Your skin glows, and it's always like that. There's so many things that go into this. You wrote these 2 books about get off your acid and get off your sugar, but they are, although they give us some different information, but they're all intertwined. Food is so personal. Yeah. And it's so many things. People and I have been victim to this. Have done it to feed my feelings, entertainment, holidays, birthdays, celebration. Just, hey, you want to go out to dinner? Whether it's a simple something simple or obviously you have to keep fueling your body because you need it. There's just so many things we can't do without food. We can do without cigarettes. We can do without illegal drugs, but we can't do without food. And that's, to me, like the hardest challenge. And I have absolutely been one of those people where I have had the worst cravings forever of certain things. As a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago, and when I texted you and invited you on the show, I said, I haven't been to you in a while. I'm like, I have to come for a reset. Like, we need to do the live blood cell, and we need to analyze, because I felt because I was craving yeast, and I was craving bread, and I was craving all these things. But I just want to just go back and make a point. Back in the day when people were eating differently, and maybe in some things maybe were not good. White bread and butter isn't really a good thing, but they were eating smaller meals. There was a meal time where people really sat at a table and ate. Now everything is either very on the go, packaged, tearing, whatever. And this could sound crazy. There weren't as many preservatives, and even, I know this may make you want to leave the podcast, but even a Twinkie, okay, didn't have as much junk as a Twinkie now. Not that I need to eat, but everything has been so saturated in it today. Ketchup, for example. I'm sure ketchup back in the day didn't have as much sugar in it as it does now, and I can absolutely attest to how addicting sugar is. And when I was started with going to Anna Kaiser's studio, who we love, I remember working with a nutritionist there, and then her saying to me, which you have said as well, is that sugar is 10 times more addicting, or 8 times more addicting than cocaine. That is a very powerful and scary sentence, and people don't understand this. And one of the things that I love that you point out is that you have to, I know saying you have to read the labels, it sounds elementary, but you really do have to read the labels. I mean, For me, nothing surprises me anymore, but that's because I've been reading labels for years. But if you haven't started to get into that routine, then you're going to be in shock. Like, brace yourself for things that you don't think have sugar.
1,000%. I mean, these manufacturers are smart. They don't want you to be healthy. They want you to be addicted. They want you to be customers to the sickness industry for the rest of your life, because that's where they make money. And I hate to say it, this is the reality of the world that we're living in. But that's the truth. You have to look at these labels, because what these manufacturers are doing is they're sneaking these sugars into all these foods. If you go into a grocery store, 74% of all the foods in that grocery store will have some form of sugar in it. But you're not going to look at the label. It's not going to say sugar. It's going to say dextrose. It's going to say maltose. It's going to say sucrose. It's going to say maltodextrin. I can go on, because there's 64 different names for sugar. And that's how they're getting away with murder. And when I say murder, it is murder because they're silently killing us. Sugar is not a food. It is a drug, and it's America's drug of choice. And we have to start calling this for what it really is. There's going to be a time, I know this, and it might not be in our lifetime, Ellen, that we're going to look back, and this is something that's not going to be around, because this is killing people, just like the tobacco industry. It's a very similar type of thing.
I'm sorry. And, it perplexes me. Listen, I'm for capitalism. Absolutely. I mean, I'm for, business and people making money and all that. That's totally fine by me. However, I find it incredibly perplexing that cigarettes, people that still even smoke cigarettes, I'm not judging, okay? I'm just saying that, this one we really know. I'm not quite sure what, it's sad. It's actually sad. And the tobacco industry is a huge moneymaker. It's a huge lobbyist in Washington. It's hard because, there is a fine line between, regulating, and then telling people what to do. I mean, we don't want that. We still want freedom, but people like you that bring this information to the forefront, I think when you really, really, really try to educate yourself. And it's not the 70s anymore. It's not, some of those diets. And you talk about so much in the book, and I encourage people to buy the book. And you list all those sugars, by the way. But, you talked about how, back in the day, it was the low fat diet and all these things. And you know what? It's okay. No one's looking to slam anybody. We've evolved.
Yeah.
We know more. And this is where we are, and we should use these tools to inform ourselves. And, your approach, because we all think cold turkey, and then you want to freak out, right? But your approach, like you said, is adding, and as you add, things will get removed. Let me tell you one of the things that has changed my life. Salt, pink Himalayan salt. I have never used pink Himalayan salt until Dr. Daryl told me to put it on my salad. Okay.
You got mine right here.
It is a game changer. This is just one little very easy thing. I love sugar. I can eat cake and cookies all day long. If it can change somebody's taste buds like mine, it could change anybody's. And olive oil and fats and
Ellen, why is Himalayan salt so powerful? Because Himalayan salt is loaded with minerals, trace minerals, and that is the number one antidote. There's 7 steps in the book, and each step has a stacking effect. So the first 3 days, we're focusing on step 1, which is to remineralize your body. But we're doing this in a lot of different forms. So Anna Kaiser, one of our most favorite people in the world, she is a total acid kicker, just like Kelly Ripa is. We've been in her class together working out in the back row, so we can get away with a little bit, not too much. But it's so important that we do exercise variation. That's one of the things I love about Anna Kaiser and her method. Every 3 weeks, it changes up. It needs to be the same thing with diet variation. So when you look to get minerals into your body, it has to be from different forms. So you're getting trace minerals from Himalayan salt or sea salt or real salt. You're getting lotion, magnesium lotion in. It's a great way we can get magnesium into our children. We're getting it from dark green leafy vegetables in the form of salads, green juices, green smoothies, green soups. Why are these things so powerful at helping you overcome your cravings? Because the reason why we crave sugar in the first place is a mineral deficiency. And the number one mineral at the top of that list is magnesium. In fact, most people don't know this, is that when you eat sugar, it massively depletes your body of magnesium because it takes your body about 54 molecules of magnesium to neutralize only 1 molecule of sugar. So think about all the sugar we've eaten. I'm not just talking about the white sugar. Again, it's the sugar that snuck its way into our diets. We're eating dessert for breakfast, things like that. We're having more grains, more dairy. Even if you had the cleanest plant-based diet, and you're eating too much animal protein, that actually will turn to sugar in your body via a process called gluconeogenesis that happens in the liver. So it's not about making yourself crazy. It's just understanding every time we eat, we need to eat foods that are going to cleanse us, foods that are going to strengthen us, foods that are going to alkalize us. So I'm always looking at my plate, lots of greens in the form of salads, sauteed or steamed greens, lots of healthy fats. And you said an important point, this whole low fat thing that we've been seeing for 70 years. Where did that come from? I can tell you where it came from. Back in the 1960s, the sugar industry actually paid off 3 Harvard scientists about 50 grand, which at that time was a lot of money, right? To manipulate the studies showing that the actual cause of chronic inflammatory diseases like heart disease and like cancer, and now Alzheimer's, which we're seeing, which is the 4th cause of death, which is insane. Sugar's at the cause of this. But here's what they said. They manipulated the studies to show that fat was the cause. So what do we see for the past 70 years? We saw no fat and low fat in every food. Now, the problem was when they took the fat out, the food tasted like cardboard. So in came the sugar industry to the rescue. And what did you see? You saw the amount of sugar and added sugars and processed sugars skyrocketing. You saw artificial sweetener skyrocketing. But what else did we see skyrocket? Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, Alzheimer's, all things like that. Why? Because sugar is the most inflammatory food, the most acidic food you can put into the body, and inflammation is the cause of all dis-ease. So we gotta fan that flame or get to that flame when it's small. All right, for me, it was raging. So it took me a little bit more time, but I came up with this approach because, like most of us, deprivation is not great for our mindset. We need to have a powerful why when we start this thing, because things are going to show up. We were blindsided by this pandemic now a year ago, which is hard to believe, right? No one knew it was going to come. But I can tell you the people that walked into this pandemic that were strength eating, that were exercising, managing stress, having a positive mindset, they tended to fare better than the ones that didn't. Because here's the reality. The coronavirus doesn't make you sick. It's the complicating factor. It's a very real virus, but it doesn't make you sick. It doesn't kill you. Because if that was the case, we'd all be dead. Just like the flu doesn't do that. And just like the common cold doesn't do that. They are all viral pathogens, but it's about your body's own unique bio-individuality. That's the thing, is that you can have someone that got very sick and someone in the same family that was fine. It's all about your body's resilience. So we got to start controlling what we can control. Let's stop worrying about all the fear mongering that's going out there, and there's still a lot of it. And let's focus on what we can do to build up our strength, build up our resistance, and help our bodies manage stress better. Because for most people, stress is managing them. If we can do those things and start to stack and stack and stack, you're going to notice that your energy is going to get better, your weight's going to go down, your resilience is going to get stronger, and over time, you will absolutely turn back those clocks on aging. That's what this is about. It's not just about feeling good in the moment. As we get older, it's about our longevity. I have a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old. I want to be around as long as possible to see them grow up and support them. But I know that I got to be on my game right now, every single day, to make that happen.
So many things to go over. As far as COVID goes, most of the people who have really, it's the demise. The older people, their immune systems are lower, or people that are younger, no matter what age, and have compromised immune systems for whatever the reason is. So I love your theory about trying to make yourself as strong as possible to fight it, because we will come in contact with it somehow, some way, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean it might have not affect you, and it certainly shouldn't kill you. And I know when this happened, I came to your office like that next week or something like that. I got an adjustment and we talked about it. And the two couple things that I did do. One is I never stopped my workout. And even though I couldn't go to Anna, and I wound up doing it online. And yes, it was definitely a big struggle. I mean, we worked out together. We were used to like the hot, sweaty box.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't not do this. I can't. I know what sweating out does for me. I know what it does for me. And then there were the supplements, the probiotic, the vitamin D. You told me about silver. To take that. I take that every day, and every morning I shove it in my husband's face. And I want to get to, and I have a note here. I definitely want to get to when you live with someone that's not like this. But anyway, and just all of some of the things that we talked about to try to manage it. I mean, did I get lucky? But I think I also did. I wanted to do everything that I possibly could to just prevent it from happening. I never stopped doing my green shake. Again, Dr. Daryl did not ask me to do this. I'm doing this on my own, okay? Once I started with your products, it definitely is a game changer. And I do this in addition to other things too, but just one scoop of these greens, and they come in, I like the berry, but they have no flavor if you don't want those, but it's so easy, one scoop. There's 21 different super green foods in here. This is great. And also it's funny, it's downstairs. I just got a new delivery of your protein shake. I got my new I'm on your monthly rotation. So I wanted to have the protein shake canister to show. And I just went down, and the guys downstairs are like, we have to log in all the packages. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, with kale and celery, and I swear by the big hunk of ginger every day. I mean, Hippocrates said food is medicine. Okay. Yeah. And being Greek, I'm going to really listen to him.
And can I say one thing about this is that you started this thing off about all of your cravings and the sugar and all the bad things that you're doing. But I just want to acknowledge you for a second, because you're doing a lot of good things as well. You're moving your body, you're exercising. You, above most people I know, have an incredible mindset about life and about things that are out there. And you're putting things in your body that are easy to do, that alkalize. And that's really what it's about. I don't want anyone to look at this and think that you have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I don't want you to be perfect, but I want you to be better. The name of this game is progress, not perfection. As long as you're doing things each day that's going to move that dial towards health, as opposed to towards inflammation and sickness, you're going to be making progress. Now, for some people, they might want to go at warp speed. Other people might want to go a little bit slower. That's fine. The goal of this whole thing, this whole Get Off Your Sugar program, is fit this into your lifestyle, but start to give your body things that it needs down to the cellular level that nourishes. Because the reality, going back to the COVID comments, is, let's say we went to a beach and there was a hurricane, right? And the next day we go to the beach to check things out. What are we going to find on that beach? You're going to see that 70, 80, 90-year-old house that wasn't maintained, wasn't kept up. It's going to probably be in rubble, right? But then you're going to see the house right next to it that was reinforced by steel, that was strengthened, that was well maintained every year. Totally fine. Same storm, different biological foundation. That's the takeaway. It's never too late to change your health. It's never too late to get off your acid. But you got to start. You got to start now. Procrastination is the killer of dreams. I always say that. If something you could do a month from now, do a week from now. Something you could do a week from now, do today. Something you could do today, do in this moment. But you got to commit to one thing. If there's anything that you could take away from this, start with one thing, master that, do it every day. And then when you're ready, you go to step 2 and then step 3, and you keep on going and you don't stop. But what we do, Ellen, before we do any of this stuff, is, with most of my clients, we talked about this, is we got to deal with this, the psychology, because we don't know the road ahead. We don't know when things are going to come up. We don't know when that craving monster is going to hit us. So for me, I think your purpose, your why, the reason behind why you do what you do is so important. Because if you know that, if you are so compelled by it, if it moves you down to your soul, like for me, my why originally was about my sugar addiction, overcoming that, and really stopping to be that walking contradiction that I was to all my clients. Now I want to be that role model, which is so important for the people in your house, your home, your loved ones, your friends. You got to be that role model, because whether they say it or not, they're looking for this too. And there's something about when someone's healthy, they exude strength, they exude certainty, they exude confidence. It's not something that's egotistical. It comes from you. We've all seen people like, wow, great energy. And then we've seen people like, wow, not great energy, right? That's something that comes from you. But what we start with is just figuring out your why. Spend 5 minutes, write it down on paper. Why do you do what you do? What moves you? What are you passionate about? This moved into more about me. It became about my children, Braden and Aaliyah. And then my father, I still wear his ashes, on my neck right here, because this was the reminder of me of why I do what I do. When my father died a few years ago from esophageal that metastasized to lung cancer, that's when my daughter Aaliyah was born. So I saw this full circle of life, and I was holding my father's hand when he died, and he was in a coma, but I know that he heard me, Ellen, and I made a vow to him. And this is the last page of Get Off Your Acid on the first book. I said, Dad, my whole family was there. I said, I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent as many people from suffering the way that you did. And I'm not kidding. Right after I said those words, he died. So that's what drives me every day. When something comes up, when it hits the fan, when life drops its stress on me, and God knows I have a ton of stress right now, I just get back to my why. Things could be a lot worse. But when I focus on my why, it's not about me anymore. It's about all the things that I want to help and the people I want to serve and all of that. And it becomes bigger. So I can guarantee you, if I got a craving and I just start to think about my daughter, my son, I have a vision board, a personal vision board of my body, nothing, Ellen, is going to stop me from getting through or around or figuring out how to get over that obstacle. So that's what we do. The first 7 days before we even start the program, we're detoxifying our mind by figuring out our why. And I always say, if your why is big enough, your how will find a way. We detox your pantry, and then we detox your body. We start off with a 3-day detox, which is, I promise, it's very easy to do. Because again, we want to clean out the system before we start to put all that good stuff into the body. So we weed, and then we seed, and then we feed. And if we're lucky enough, in a few months, you're going to have a flourishing garden. That's my whole take on this whole thing.
Your story about your father, which we talked about in private as well, it just gives me chills. Sometimes it takes to have experienced something like that, or to see real illness to, give you this rude awakening. I want to just touch upon sugar one more time, and then I want to tie everything into acid and acid-based foods, because it's not just about sugar. Sugar is just one of the acid-based foods, one of the very bad things.
The top of the list.
Right. In your book, you talked about what's considered diabetes type 3. If I saw this with my own eyes before I knew it was diabetes type 3, when my loved one passed away, before that year before, a couple of years before, they had type 2 diabetes, and the memory, like you could see the memory was going. And of course, traditionally they go to the doctor, and the doctor gives them, it's beginning of Alzheimer's. And they gave them something called Aricept, which said, and so then they said, meanwhile, they were already taking 17 other medications. But they're like, well, if it doesn't work, it's benign. I don't know about you. To me, anything I put in my body is not benign, but okay, all right, whatever. And anyway, ultimately the person passed away. And 9 months later, I remember I was flipping the channel. I forget what. And then all of a sudden it hit me, and they were talking about diabetes type 3. And what presents itself as Alzheimer's. And I got to tell you something, Dr. Daryl, if I hear or read on social media, Facebook, one more person telling me, or I'm talking to someone, then I go, hey, how's Susie? And it's like, oh, her mother has Alzheimer's. If I must hear that 5 times a week, and from all ages and all, walks of life. And I mean, illness doesn't discriminate as far as I'm concerned. You see it everywhere. So you talk about that. And I think that is very important, because you hear it more and more. And then on the flip side, to get to the younger kids, who doesn't have ADHD, ADD, OCD, all of these things. And right away, again, it's the pill, it's the this and that. And it's like, we have to take a step back and look and see exactly everything we're putting in our body and how we're living our life. before we start putting in all these labels. I'm not here to slam the medical community. And listen, you got a broken leg, you go get it fixed. You know, you need bypass, go get it fixed. But there's so many things that we can do before we get to that type of a point. But I do appreciate that you touched upon that diabetes type 3, because that is not spoken about enough. And it already is right to, oh, they have Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I mean, I lost my godmother to Alzheimer's, so it's something very near and dear to my heart, and it's something that is actually getting worse, not better. And yeah, listen, we're not here to ever bash the medical industry. Thank God for the medical industry, because both of my parents are, you know, my dad passed away, but their lives, or his life, was prolonged because of many things that medicine did. And my mom, you know, who suffered from an aneurysm, thank God that they had medicine, because, you know, what they did to kind of help that, so she didn't die. But let's get things straight. Medicine is about crisis care. We have the best crisis care system in the world, but I'm going to tell you, medicine is not a healthcare system. It is not a healthcare system. It's actually a sick care system. We rank 72nd, Ellen, in world health. I can't even name 71 countries ahead of us. So how is it possible that we make up 5% of the world's population? We spend over 50% of the world's money on medical, or what I call sick care, yet where are we right now? We've never been sicker as a nation. We've never been more overweight as a nation. And it's a huge problem, because you can't just take a pill for every ill, or a potion or a lotion to fix it. Now, if I'm going to have a stroke or something like that, that's when we need medicine. But the question is, to your point, what are we doing on every other day of the year? The whole point is, let's not let us get to that point when we're in the crisis. I always use the plant analogy. If you see a plant and it starts to wilt, what's the first thing that comes to our mind? Drugs and surgery, right? No, drugs and surgery. Let's give the plant drugs and surgery. No, I'm just kidding. Of course. Let's think about this from a common sense. Let's give the plant water. Let's give it sunlight. Let's give it nutrients, right? It doesn't need that pill unless it's too far gone. You need to bring it back. Let's give it the things that it needs to thrive. But have we thought about this? You can give it the best sunlight, the best water in the world, but if you don't clean out the toxins that's maybe leaking into the soil, into the root system from that gas station next door, I don't care how well you feed that plant, it's going to get sick, it's going to die. Because the two causes of all dis-ease, and I say that with a hyphen, which means lack of balance, lack of harmony in our body, is deficiency and toxicity. We're either not getting something that our body needs to thrive, or there's something toxic in our body that needs to come out. And it's a combination of both. And I can tell you, we are all deficient and toxic. And that's the whole thing. So it's the same thing with a plant. Give it what it needs, take the bad stuff out. If it's not too far gone, Ellen, that plant has the power to heal itself, because the power that makes the body is the power that heals the body. But sugar is at the underlying cause of all these things. I don't care which avenue we take it. It could be heart disease. It could be cancer. So we're either rusting or rotting from the inside out, or it could be dementia. And there's research out there now showing that over the age of 28, we all are expressing either a very small amount or mega amounts of dementia in one way or another. Why is that? Because why are they calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes of the brain? Type 3, what's diabetes? It's insulin resistance. Where does that come from? From pumping up your body with too much sugar. And what happens is, sugar is so inflammatory, it does something called, I want to get too technical, but this is important because this is what's causing the brain issues. And it's not just Alzheimer's, it's Parkinson's, it's MS, it's brain fog, it's memory issues, it's sustained attention, whether that's in a child or an adult. So what happens is, when there's too much sugar floating around in your system, and there's too much protein or too much unhealthy fats. Okay, just like there's good salts, there's bad salts, there's good fats, there's bad fats. So unhealthy fats, unhealthy protein, they link up, they lock onto the sugar. And that process is called glycation. They call it AGEs, advanced glycation end product. It ages you prematurely. But here's the problem. Once that connection happens, it can't be undone. It's like trying to unboil a hard-boiled egg. It's impossible. And these plaques go up into the brain. They basically implant themselves into the brain, and it creates inflammation. And in my book, Get Off Your Acid, the first book, I said this 2 years before Harvard came out and published this for the first time. I said Alzheimer's parallels inflammation of the brain. And then 2 years later, after my book was released, Harvard came out and actually gave a study confirming that. So here's the thing. We got to start to put things into our body that neuroprotect our brain. And here's the sugar craving, Alzheimer's commonality. The number one neuroprotector of the brain is magnesium. How about that? Magnesium. We need more magnesium in our diets. The second neuroprotector of the brain is omega-3 fatty acids. That's what fish oil is. We got to take fish oil. The third neuroprotector of the brain is B vitamins. They support healthy nerve system. So those three things as we age are so important. Of course, we want to get as much from the food as possible, but we're in a day and age where supplementations become necessary. If we lived 200 years ago where the soil had not as much depletion of the minerals and things like that, we didn't need to do supplements back then. But right now, and in the book, I go over the top 5 supplements we all need to take, even my 3-year-old, even my 6-year-old, where there's 5 things that we need to take above and beyond eating a clean, healthy diet. Because the other reality is that we cannot supplement ourselves out of a bad diet, right? So we got to have a great diet or a better diet. We have to take some supplements. We have to manage stress. And at the basic foundation, we got to move our body with good, healthy exercise. But Alzheimer's is an issue. We can get ahead of it. Coconut oil is a really big, important thing as well that prevents Alzheimer's.
You know, you talked about supplements, and it's so interesting. Again, it's a mindset, and I don't want to call it a generational thing because there are people that are older that just, you know, kick butt in the good health. So I don't want to pigeonhole it because there's a lot of people that are young and don't get it. But people will, if there's something wrong, they have no problem going to the doctor, getting that script. Does insurance cover it? You know, that's always that first question. Does insurance cover, which I'm not saying is not important, but it's like, again, it's this mindset that we have to get out of. And then when you talk about good food, buying organic, you know, a lot of those foods that are acidic, and again, I don't want to let you go without asking your advice, but my freezer is filled with frozen meatballs and cauliflower pizza and all this. I opened it up before it got on. I'm like, oi, I don't know. I'm going to look Dr. Daryl in the eye. But just know, I didn't go shopping. I wouldn't buy all that stuff. So, but you know, all of that stuff that's, you know, that's filled with all those products. Like we have no problem buying a $5 bag of potato chips, but to buy a good quality omega-3, like the one that you have, you know, people would balk at. You know, there is this disproportionate mindset. Like, it's okay if it's from the doctor. I go to the pharmacy, I pay a copay, and the insurance pays most of it, even if the drug costs really $200. Like, that's okay. But to get a vitamin, a bottle that's, you know, 90-day supply for $50, we like balk at. It's like we need to change the thought process.
100%. And we can't rely on insurance anymore. Insurance has massively changed in the last 20 years. And I'm going to tell you, your best insurance policy is to have a strength eating diet. That's the key. It's to not get into danger in the first place. You know, so yes, we have insurance, but it's one of those high deductible, you know, so we don't have to pay as much because I'm being honest, we have never used it. So I rather allocate that money. God forbid something happens, a car accident, crisis care. We won't be in the whole $100,000 or whatever. Right. That's what insurance is for. But insurance is not paying for your organic produce. It's not paying for your Anna Kaiser classes. It's not paying for your chiropractic visits. It's not paying for the supplements that you need. Those are the things that we need to be healthy. So your best insurance policy is to focus on the things that are going to keep you healthy so that you don't fall into that mousetrap of getting sick. And listen, I went through it with my father. That was one of my vows. I never want to see my family members go through what we went through, because there's a saying, when one person gets cancer in your family, the entire family gets cancer. And it's true because of the amount of stress that we have to deal with. So we got to start now. You got to flip that magnet in the way you're thinking and start to say, okay, what can I do? And create a budget for yourselves. You know, it's hard times right now with COVID-19 and all the stuff that's happening out there where it might be harder. So, you know, go to your local farmers market where you can get more food in bulk and buy it in a more cost-effective manner. There's a lot of strategies to go about that. But we really have to just focus on ways that we can make ourselves healthier. And I'm going to tell you, the first step in get off your acid is free. It's to breathe. When we're stressed, we start stress eating, which most of us did in this pandemic. In fact, they even gave it a name. They called it the quarantine 15, that people, the weight that they gained in the COVID-19. So we go into stress eating and we go into fight or flight. And when we're in fight or flight, what do? We freeze like a deer in headlights and we stop breathing. Do you know that 70% of the total toxic load in your body is actually removed by your breathing, by your lungs? So we're all breathing to be alive, but we're not breathing to be alive. And there's a difference. So every morning when I wake up, I actually do a 3-6-5 power breath. I breathe in for 3 seconds through my nose. I hold it for 6. I exhale for 5. And I do that 10 times. It alkalizes, it energizes, it detoxifies my body. And that's the way we got to start out. So if you're feeling stressed, stop for a second, just get some breathing in. I promise you, 3 minutes later, you're going to be feeling a lot better. The stressor might not have changed, but your ability to adapt to that will change. So we have to start to create things in our lives, schedule it in, because life is so crazy. If we don't schedule it in, it's not going to happen. So I schedule my workouts in, I schedule my supplements in. I have to do this because my life is so crazy. If I don't do it, I'll fall off track. So again, figure out things that's going to fit into your lifestyle. But at the end of the day, it's really about just understanding that this is so important. This is about your life. This is about your health. And I see this all the time, is that most people don't get real about their health like I did until they've lost their health, until it does become the crisis. Let's not wait for that to happen anymore. Let's start now. Let's anticipate. We don't know what the next thing is going to be, whether it's another pandemic or a death in the family or whatever it is. But you know what? Let's be prepared for it. And how do we do that? We start now.
Okay. I forgot about the breathing, by the way. I forgot about the breathing, and I've been very stressed, and I run to the kitchen and shoveled something in my mouth, and I'm going to try that with, I need to try that methodology. Okay. Everybody, we're going to ask Dr. Daryl one more question, but I want everybody to know that in the books, you have a lot of very easy, simple recipes, a lot of things. You're very into, obviously, plant-based. You talk about meat, you talk about chicken, how that's inflammatory. That doesn't mean that you should never eat chicken in your whole life. You can have it, just don't have it 5 times a week. Or 7 times a week, like my friend Joan, who tells me that she has high cholesterol. But that's beside the point. Mike, have you thought about maybe cutting down the chicken? I don't know.
Yeah, diet variation. Alternate every 3 or 4 days, but the key thing is it's got to be grass-fed. That's the key thing: quantity and quality. I did a post about this today. It's incredible. So when it's grass-fed, there's 40 times less inflammation, because it's not about what you eat; it's about what the animal you eat is eating. And most of these animals are being fed with corn and soy, which is a massive pro-inflammatory to the body, not to mention all the GMOs, all the hormones, all the antibiotics. I hate to say it, I'd rather starve than put that stuff into my body. So when you're going for the meat, please, this is where I do want you to spend a little bit more money. Make sure it's grass-fed. Make sure the eggs are grass-fed, because that's a way that you can get away with eating these things, but with a lot less inflammation. But pair it up with lots of greens. Don't pair it up with a starch like rice, like, steak and potatoes, bad combination, digestive nightmare. If you're going to have a steak, try to have the best quality. Make the steak the sideshow, not the main event. Here's my rule: 2 to 4 ounces of protein per meal. If you're going to have animal protein, that's the size of your fist, or if it's a piece of fish, the size of a checkbook. But make sure you're pairing that up with a lot of greens, a big salad, or what I call a big acid kicking salad, steamed veggies, sauteed veggies. That's the kind of pairing up, because those greens have minerals. The minerals neutralize the acid.
I can attest to the fact that I started to get into greens a good 10 years ago. I cannot, if I go a day without it, I feel it immediately. I'm telling you right now. And as far as the food goes, I remember when I went to Greece, and I sat down to have, I think it was a piece of swordfish and veggies, and the swordfish was like this big. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to have to order another plate, because I'm a volume eater. I'm tiny, but I'm like, I can shovel it, because as we know, we don't get enough. And we're there for a couple of weeks, and because they don't process everything, and I ate whatever the actual serving was, and it was filling. It was fine. Yeah. Trust me. If I was starving, I would have gotten more. What do you do? Last question. What do you do when you got the spouse who eats pretzels filled with peanut butter? Peanut butter is a bad thing. You got to read the book to find out why. Granola, cereal, the sugared cereals. He'll go, well, I'm drinking almond milk. I'm like, but it's vanilla and it has 12 grams of sugar in it. Constant chicken pot pies. I don't even want to tell you. You'd plots if you looked in. don't eat any of that. But what do you do? I mean, we can't eat meals together. I mean, it's a bone of contention. Nothing else. That is the
that's a good start. We were gonna have different tables, different meals. No, I think it's a very valid point. Luckily, you know, my wife Chelsea, we're in this road together, so it's easier. And this is kind of our discovery. She's a vegan. She's a healthy vegan with an asterisk that has fish oil. I'm a pescatarian, but you know, we do this. We live this together. But to your point, many families are not like that. And I hate to say it, but we're only as strong as the weakest link sometimes. So I think the key thing, Ellen, is you being just really solid in what your purpose is, your outcome, letting your spouse or your family member or whoever's with you know what's important to you. And then when you drink that wine in front of me, or you have that bag of cookies, and you say, hey, do you want some? That's actually gonna get me further off of my path, and that's not okay. I think we have to be role models, because ultimately people want health, but they're so addicted. So I think it's you sticking to your guns and showing that there is a better way, no matter what, and showing that you're not going to give in to these poisons. So that's important. Stay true to who you are, have your purpose, have your healthy things in there. And then ultimately, I think this is something that takes more time. If we can get him to do one thing, that's a big win. So in the book, we have a lot of healthy swaps. So instead of having white rice, which we know is bad, which is loaded with, you know, all this crap, we would do maybe quinoa, which is not a grain, it's a seed, or wild rice. Very, very similar in taste, very similar texture, but complete opposite difference in terms of what it does to the body. One increases inflammation, the other's lower inflammation. So doing that, you know, maybe getting their workout clothes and making them do something with you, but you make it so easy that it's impossible for them to say no. And just trying to do one thing, say, you know what, can you just do this one thing for me today? I'm going to make you this little green juice, it's 6 ounces of water. I don't care if you have to hold your nose, just pound it. Can you do that one thing for me and for yourself and for our children? You know, just start with one thing. They can do one thing, and then let them master that and then go from there. So I think there's a lot of different strategies, and we give a lot of these strategies in the book, by the way. But I would say at the core of this, we have to be the change that we want to see in other people. And I can't tell you how many times I do it, then it starts to just have that ripple effect. It's energy. I said this before, energy is contagious.
I haven't put that much effort into it because he's my husband, and then, you know, you're like bicker.
But you need to, because he's not going to do it for himself right now. So it doesn't have to be a lot, but it needs to be more effort, because you want him on that path with you. You want him around as long as possible. And we know that people that are eating all this crappy stuff, it's a one-way ticket down the wrong way street. We don't want to go that route.
Yeah. As far as the
we don't want him to wait until something possibly happens before that change is made.
I know. Well, listen, I could talk about this for hours. We have a big, by the way, bag of basmati rice and franken beans and all kinds of things, because the end of the world is coming, as you know, and a Civil War cannon. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I live with a very paranoid person sometimes, but no, I know what you're saying. And I think once we can get over that barrier, and I think I have to kind of spoon feed it to him, then I think we can make some progress. But sometimes, 100%. You know, sometimes I think because it's coming from me, which leads me to say he really needs to come and see you.
Send them me, I'll fix them up.
Like the marriage counselor of food and wellness. Listen, first, everybody, I cannot begin to tell you, please go out and get off your acid. If they're on Amazon, and get off your sugar. You can buy both of them, buy one, whatever it is, available on Kindle. Check out some of Dr. Daryl's products. I swear by them. You also have that black seed oil that I've taken every day since I saw you. And we all love coffee. We didn't get to talk about it. Dr. Daryl has a lot of information because coffee is very acidic. There are people that cannot live up their coffee. That was my first question when I walked into his office. And of course, he's a genius, and he developed this coffee creamer that is delicious. Okay, delicious. My husband still uses the other crappy stuff, but it's very bad for you. It's great. It took a little while. I got to admit, it took a little while to kind of get used to it, to figure out the proportion and everything. But it is fantastic. Give us your website.
Oh, thank you. It's getoffyouracid.com. And I want to thank you for having me on. We could do this for hours. So I think we should do a round 2 and come back, because there's so much more we can probably say together. So I would love to do that. I appreciate your passion. And your commitment to helping other people. So I love and appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really mean it. Let's do it again, because this is so much fun, but this is so important as well.
Thank you, Dr. Daryl Gioffre. Look him up. I am Ellen Karis, but Dr. Daryl is also on Twitter and Instagram. Get Off Your Acid, or Dr. Daryl Gioffre. Go to his website. I'm Ellen Karis, Greek Chick Comic, Instagram and Twitter. Ellen Karis, Facebook, Greek Goddess of Comedy. My website, ellenkaris.com. All that stuff. Get off your acid. I'm going to go breathe.
Yes. Kick acid, everybody. Take care.
Say hi to Chelsea, please, and I'll see you soon.
I will.
Okay,
thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ellen.
Bye.